Now we'll show you the parts of the machine, and that's the machine as it comes out of the box. The serving spoon, the mixer or agitator, and the measuring cup. And we'll now open the machine and we'll bring out the bin. That bin would hold the flour. We'll remove that paper holder from it. You want to save that because you need it in the future. And then we'll close the lid. In this configuration, the machine acts as a rice cooker, as a food warmer, or a crock pot. Now we'll assemble the machine for making fufu. First thing you do is open the lid, pressing down on that latch. Take the paddle. As you see, the paddle has a round side and a flat side. So the flat side lines up with the pin inside and easily plugs in. And then we'll cover the lid. Remove the cap, always pinching those attachments there. And then we'll take the bin, the flour holder. Realize that the bottom of the flour holder has an area. That triangular area has to cover the hole on the top of the platform. So go ahead and put that on there so that the flour doesn't drop into the bowl before it's supposed to. Okay, now that you use the cap to cover the bin, and it latches in place easily. Now the machine is ready to make fufu after you put the ingredients in. Now we are ready to make fufu. When you get to the machine, you have a choice of cooking in the automatic mode on the left side or the manual mode on the right side. And I will explain what that means now. On the automatic side, if you push the automatic button, it gives you the choice of selecting fufu, gari, or rice. And you just push the start button. Okay. In the manual mode, we'll go ahead and stop the... In the manual mode, all one does is push the manual button and then push the heat button. Immediately you push the heat button, you will see the temperature being recorded on the display. It's currently showing as centigrade, but in the manual, you can change that to Fahrenheit, which we'll do for this next cooking that we'll be doing. And when it reaches the temperature, all you do is push the mix button and the flour is immediately mixed in the boiling water. As I said, the temperature that you want to drop at can vary anything from 170 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So now we're going to go ahead and cook fufu. We've decided to cook 2 cups of fufu flour. So for that, we'll use 4 cups of water. So we'll put 4 cups of water in the bowl, and then we'll be putting 2 cups of flour in the bin. The machine comes with a serving cup, so you can use that cup, measuring cup. You can use that cup or any other cup as long as you use the same cup to measure the water and the flour. So now we're putting 2 cups of flour in the bin, and after we've done that, we'll go ahead and place the cap on it. And like I said, we will be cooking this in the manual mode. So we'll push the manual button and push heat. And now, like I said, we're in Fahrenheit now. 118 degrees Fahrenheit is what it's showing. And when it gets close to 170 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, we'll go ahead and push the dump button. And at that time, the machine would dump the flour and then mix. Currently, we're at 194 degrees Fahrenheit, which is still within the right range. So we have already dropped. We'll push the dump mix button, and it will drop the flour. Usually, it will rotate 4 times to make sure all of the flour has dropped into the bowl at the bottom. And as it is dropping the flour at the bottom, it is also mixing. The temperature may continue to go up, but that's okay. It's programmed not to overheat. Again, each time you push the mix button, it will mix for 2 minutes. As you see, you saw the mixing going on. Now we have completed the fufu, and they will use the paddle to drop the finished fufu into the serving plate. As you see, that's beautiful fufu. Now that the fufu has finished cooking, and we're going to show you another function that we hadn't talked to you about. The fufu is relatively hard, and so if your fufu is too hard or too soft, you can actually correct it. So in this situation, this fufu is too hard. So we're going to add a little more water. It has to be hot water. We'll add more water to the fufu. We'll close the lid. You push the manual button again. You push stop first, and then push the manual button, and then push mix. So you mix and cook the fufu for an additional 2 minutes because you just added water. So if at the completion of the 2 minutes of mixing, if the fufu is still not to your satisfaction, say it is too soft, you can actually add more fufu flour and push the button again. So every time you push the button, it will mix for 2 minutes. If it's too soft, you add more flour. If it's too hard, you add more water, and you mix it for an additional 2 minutes until you're satisfied with the texture of your fufu. But the bin has to be on the machine. This flour holder has to be on the machine for the mixing to occur as a safety feature. So if you remove the bin from the top of the machine, it will not mix as a safety feature so that a young child cannot put their hand into the mixer and injure themselves. So right now, the machine is mixing it for an additional 2 minutes, and we'll show you the final product at the end of those 2 minutes. Okay, now the machine has finished mixing it for an additional 2 minutes since we added more water. So we'll go ahead and open, since we added water for the hot fufu. And as you can see, the texture is much more acceptable. And you see that the texture is much better. It's not as hard because we added water and then mixed it additionally. Again, if it had been too soft, we could have added more flour and pushed the button, and it would mix it for an additional 2 minutes. So we're using plantain flour to make this fufu now. Some parts of Africa, as you know, use plantain flour rather than yam flour. So the machine has already boiled the water, and as you saw, has dropped the flour. So we have finished cooking this plantain fufu. Let's see what it looks like. Opening it, we'll bring the bowl out and see what it looks like. In this segment, we'll use FUFUMAGIC as a food warmer. We have some egusi soup in there. It could have been any food that's left over from restaurant or from yesterday's food. You just put it in there, push manual, and you push the heat button twice, go to warm, and as you see, it's warming up the egusi soup beautifully. You can do the same thing for leftover food, like I said. So this is an additional feature of FUFUMAGIC that makes it so desirable.